when you look at the context of these passages, you need it in order to know really what's going on.
My question is, well, there's many examples in the Bible where I can think of one like in Deuteronomy, if a woman was raped by a man, she had to marry the rapist.
Yeah.
If God is just, how is it just to marry a rapist?
Yeah, it's a great question. But you're asking about rape in the Old Testament, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Once again, Paul Copan, Old Testament scholar. This is the first of 2 books he wrote on the Old Testament God. Here's what he says. Although rape was a common feature in ancient Near East warfare, Israelite soldiers were prohibited from raping women, contrary to what some crassly argue. Sex was permitted only in the bounds of marital commitment. A repeated theme laid out in the Mosaic Law, rape in warfare wasn't a grand exception to the requirement of sexual fidelity. There are 3 different scenarios in the passage you're talking about. In Deuteronomy 22, 23 to 29, there's adultery, rape, and seduction with no resistance, all right? Adultery, in other words, if the 2 accused were committing adultery, then they both were given capital punishment, okay? Because that was a capital crime. If it was rape, in other words, the woman did not submit, then it was capital punishment for the man. If it was seduction, in other words, if the woman was not pledged to be married, the man was to pay a fine and was obligated to marry her unless her father refused. So in this case, the woman is not raped. She has consented to this. And the man then was obligated to marry her and unless the father refused, he could never divorce her. This ensured her security because in the ancient Near East culture, she would be ostracized and unable to find a husband and protection. Now notice this Old Testament law is not applicable today. It was only for the theocracy of ancient Israel. So in that time, if she had been with another man, she basically was in a situation where she couldn't find another husband because a husband was supposed to marry a virgin, not somebody who had sex with somebody else prior to. So that's why this provision is put in there. It wasn't rape, it was seduction. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
All right. Again, when you look at the context of these passages, you need it in order to know really what's going on. So that book might be helpful. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.